But there are quite a few. I've had quite a few, an influx of some new patients, which is awesome. More people that I'm excited to help. So a lot of people, of course, it's the middle of the workday. So um, watch the recording. So I'm excited for today. So I got a couple random things here I just wanted to show you guys. And then, oh my goodness. So if we think back to the last even couple months, we've covered some heavy topics like, gosh, cancer, female specific cancers, prostate cancers. Then we went into autoimmune conditions, and my goodness, those are pretty big, heavy topics. So if you're new and you don't know what I'm talking about or weren't for those, and most of you guys will have access in the programs if you have access to these live calls in your education library. Okay, so in the what is it? Documents area. I think that's where it's at. Am I right, everybody?
Yes.
Documents
Yep.
tab and then education library. I upload all of these videos. So man, you can just go and I have the folders divided into different topics that you can go back and listen or watch on if anything that you specifically want to know about. So, but last week, I'll tell you, was that last week that I was on a field trip?
Yep.
Yep.
That was so much fun. Not the field trip. Field trip was fun, but you get like answering questions. Anytime you guys have questions at the beginning here, shout them out because that was fun. I like doing that. I'm gonna do that more often. So does anybody have anything that I didn't get to that day that you want to ask real quick before we dive into some other stuff?
Nope.
Okay, great. So let me share my screen here real quick, because this is the most important aspect of today. What you guys are about ready to see. I can't remember if I told you all this. Can you see it yet?
Nope.
Oh,
Oh, your table.
so this lovely lady and her dog, her husband is the one that came and bought it. I made that table and I was super proud of
Yay.
myself. So I made a dining room table for my house, but then I put it up on Facebook Marketplace because I just love to build and create. It's just like going to be like it's just a hobby. And so they did this barn dominium kind of building, which is where they're putting this. This is like an over 8 foot long table. It could seat probably 10 or 12 people. I mean, it's huge and heavy. And I made it in my garage and they came and picked it up last night and they were ecstatic because they thought it was going to match perfectly. And then he sent me this picture today and I just thought that was cool. That's my win for the week.
Awesome.
And I'm gonna build for my house, I'm gonna build a coffee table to match this. I'm gonna build like a entertainment stand to kind of match this. So my time is limited, but if y'all know anybody who's interested in this kind of stuff, man, let me know. I love doing it. It's just like on weekends and stuff when I have a few hours. This table took me about 4 hours to build is all. And that
Oh my God.
included staining and painting and all of it. So I got it kind of down to somewhat of a science. We'll call it
That's
that.
awesome.
Anyway, that was fun. The second thing I wanted to show you guys, if I can remember where I put it. Oh, where did I put it? Where did I put it? Is this. So kind of just random. Most of you guys who've been around know how important and how I preach gut health. Of course, a lot of you guys are still going through because the gut not only is crucial to health in general for everybody, but it can also take a long time to heal and fix if we're talking about decades, usually with us adults, of trauma really to our gut, right? So it can take a long time. So this article, though, I stumbled across was written at the UCLA Health Center
I'm on this side.
research there. And babies. So even little brand new newborns, toddlers, kids. I mean, gosh, the gut is so crucial. And this is stuff we've known for years, but a lot of times it takes science, quote unquote, and research to catch up. And these studies that they're doing are just linking more and more and more to gut health, the microbiome, certain gut microbes, and how they have to do and tie in and lead to, and I'm going to even say could potentially cause things like anxiety, depression, ADHD, the mental health type stuff. Now, one question that might come to some of y'all's mind is, well, how does a baby not have good gut health? Well, I'm not going to dive into the weeds here because it can be complicated, but number one, any baby that's not born vaginally that's one strike, okay? Because passing through the vaginal canal of the mom actually coats the baby with a lot of healthy, good bacteria that it needs. It swallows some. I mean, so it really, that's been shown to be kind of the first and one of the more important things. Okay. When babies come out, there's, of course, you'd hear a lot of debate about all this stuff, but like if you think natural, like how God created us to bring babies into the world, did they take the baby from the mom right away and start cleaning it off, wiping it down, giving it a bath? No. So that coating. So like when we had our kids, we did not have them clean the babies, and of course they're a little sticky and they're all that. But it's like that's so good for them to be coated in that. So again, it helps the microbiome. Then we go into number two would be breastfeeding. Of course, a lot of babies. Again, there's no shame in those, no guilt. If some moms sometimes you cannot breastfeed. So if you can't breastfeed, and getting that baby some of those good bacteria from the colostrum and the breast milk from the mom, then you need to know what to do, right, to help support the baby's microbiome. Third point would be traumatic births or traumatic or stressful pregnancies. Okay, so if a mom is in fight or flight, if a mom is stressed out, if a mom has trauma during pregnancy, if there's a traumatic birth process, the baby can enter into the world in fight or flight mode. And this is something we see all the time. All the time, babies are on this sympathetic fight or flight path, and it's hardwired into their system. Um, and there can be birth traumas that cause that as well, which are more common than what you might think. And that can actually, if you know what I'm talking about here, go back to our stress talks. If the stress fight or flight system is turned on, it shuts down the parasympathetic, the rest, the digestive system via the vagus nerve. It shuts all that stuff down. So it doesn't allow it to operate as well. Okay. So babies can really be set up for a lot of negative things if all of those, and the more of those check boxes, the more of those things that happen in a baby, the more susceptible they're going to be to chronic disease, chronic illness, mental health later on. So anyway, all of that, it was kind of just a random article I ran across. I wanted to kind of hit that today. So if you guys know people who are, I'll tell you what, like moms wanting to start families, moms having babies, moms that have toddlers that are, maybe they're struggling with some of these spectrum disorder, mental health. How many parents I hear talk about their kids have tummy aches all the time and all like constipated. Like this is not normal stuff. So give them my name, give them my number. I'd love to chat with them. So that's that. Anybody have any questions on that? Concerns? Okay. So, geez, after I said we're going to not go heavy, there I was. I kind of went heavy there. But you know what? We're going to go lighter now. Okay. So here's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope you guys like this. I hope you get something out of this. The topic of the day is holiday health hacks. We're coming up on the holidays. Thanksgiving is around the corner. Christmas, all the things. Oh my gosh. I hope everybody gets together with family or friends or whoever you have in your life, neighbors, coworkers, and I hope you have a blast. And I know I do. And I know I do not enter into the holidays. There have been years in the past where I was really strict. Like, I'm not going to have a Christmas cookie. I'm not going to, I have done that before and I got through it, but shoot, what kind of fun is that? So I want you guys to know, first and foremost, you don't have to be perfect. Okay. Enjoy, but let's stay on track through the season. Okay. So I'm going to give you some tips today, some things to think about, some things to write down and implement through the holidays. And I'm going to give you some other cool stuff today. So, all right, the holiday challenge, the reality. Let's not let this be us, because I know this would devastate a lot of you. The average person gains 5 to 7 pounds between Thanksgiving and New Year's. Woohoo! Doesn't that sound fun? right? 5 to 7 pounds. I mean, I can gain 5 to 7 pounds in one meal over the holidays, but usually I lose it pretty quick too. So the good news is with simple strategy, you can enjoy the celebrations and maintain your health goals and also feel great without shaming or anything like that. So, oops, did I? Hmm. Okay. I feel like I skipped something, but maybe I didn't. Hold on a second. My mouse is not working. That's cool. Previous. Make sure I didn't skip a slide here. Oh, yeah. Okay, we're good. Okay, so after the big holiday meal, so you say you have Thanksgiving dinner, lunch, whatever, Christmas dinner, Christmas lunch. You guys should know this, most of you, but I'll tell you what, this is what we do in my family. Like my mom and dad live out on 20 acres, which not everybody has that. I understand that, but gosh, no matter where you are, you can do this. Man, we all, no matter the weather either, it's like do hard things every day. Like, be that kind of mental toughness, get that mindset of even if it's snowing, even if it's 30 degrees below zero, we get bundled up. We take the kids, we take the dogs, we do whatever, and we go on a walk. I mean, just around their property. So it's amazing because they have trails. My dad's cut trails through the woods and all that kind of stuff. But even if it's just around your neighborhood, and if you can't get outside, for whatever reason, it's dangerous, it's icy, just walk around your house, do something, do some air squats, do some lunges, just move. Movement is medicine. You guys know that. But this can really make a huge difference, especially after those big meals. Maybe you've had more carbs than you're used to. Maybe you had some treats and things. Go walk for a little longer than maybe I usually tell you guys to. Because usually I say, even 5 minutes or less can do some good after you eat a meal, but after a big meal, 20 to 30. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Herbal teas are really good in the season, right? Get some season specific teas and just really don't try not to just guzzle water. Because what happens after we have a lot of maybe carb heavy meals and treats and sugar and stuff like that? What happens? We get really thirsty. Okay, so stay hydrated preemptively. Really, really get a lot of water. And you guys should know this too, most of you, that drinking too much water around food can actually be really hard on your digestive system because it dilutes your stomach acid. Okay, so because water, of course, is a pH of 7, your stomach needs to be 2 or 2.5, so it's acidic. And if we dilute that, we're going to be more susceptible to digestive issues, but also to bugs, right? Like bacteria, things that are getting in. So remember that. Okay, kind of create that window of time around your meals to not have a ton of water. Not that you can't have any, just don't drink a ton. Return to normal eating the next day. That's always what I try to do. I always kind of say, okay, holiday's holiday. We're going to kind of go all out here in a way and then return to normal the next day. Or maybe there's some leftovers and I try to do that. So try not to skip meals to make up for maybe one big meal. And then obviously get back to your exercise routine as soon as you can. Okay, I've already kind of said this. The mindset around a lot of this in holidays is one meal is not going to derail your progress. Okay, so I don't want you guys to be in that mindset, right? You definitely do not need to be guilting and shaming and have negative self-talk. Like, go start thinking about that now. Maybe this sounds silly to some of you, but this stuff is real. People all the time. We maybe we even go into the holidays thinking I'm going to be good. I'm not going to have all the sugar and all the stuff. And then you do because it's too tempting. Okay. Then what do? You don't shame and you don't guilt yourself. Okay. That's what you just need to start thinking about that right now. No matter what happens, you do not go down that path because that's not going to do any good for anybody. Okay. Get back on the train, the next day. Okay. Focusing on how you feel and not on the scale too, right? So the scale doesn't always tell the story. You guys know that. So how are you feeling? How's your energy? All those kind of things are more important. Okay, and then celebrating getting back on track is always a fun thing to do too. Like, yes, I got back on track the next day. I'm getting back to my exercise, I'm getting back to my normal eating, etc. Some other little quick tips. So before, say you're going somewhere for a Christmas party and there's a big meal and there's going to be snacks and stuff, man, right before you go, I try to do this too. Sometimes I'll just drink like a quick protein shake. I'll get 30 or 35 grams of protein in my belly before I go. And really, then it just becomes a mind game for me. This is me personally. If there's one thing I struggle with food and sweets and things like that is even if I'm full, I still want to eat it because it just looks so good, right? And oftentimes I do, and then I'm miserable. So then I learn my lesson. But if you get a little bit of that protein in your belly first, that can really kind of help sway you to not overindulge. Okay. And of course, I already said stay hydrated through your day. Plan which foods you're really going to truly enjoy and then use sparingly or in moderation. Use a smaller plate. Obviously, some things like, I don't know how your families do it, but my family, man, there's so much food. It's ridiculous. My mom, my sisters, like it's really ridiculous how much food there is. And and so I try to do this for me and my kids too. It's like half the plate. Half the plate is going to be, there's always good vegetables. There's always something there that you can fill salads and other, green bean casseroles, even maybe that's not the best thing, but it's like definitely better than sugar. And then oftentimes I'll fill for me, the other half of my plate's protein. I'm like, shoot, yeah, all the turkey, all the ham, all the stuff. And so then you can really kind of manage things better in that way. Choosing your favorites mindfully, of course. Okay, try and don't go into it like thinking restriction, like just moderation over restriction for the holidays. That's what I preach anyway. That's what I try to do for myself too. Okay. Now here's the fun part. I think this is fun anyway, because if you guys do not know how you can make, if you like to bake, if you like to cook, or if there's someone in your family who does, and you want to pass some of this along to them, man, please do, because there are some really delicious things that you can make that you wouldn't even really tell are quote unquote healthier, right? So let's go over some of this. If you've never heard of paleo before, I'm going to show you a website here in a second. Some of you guys, I think months and months and months ago, I kind of talked about that website, but it's called paleoomg.com. And man, there's just so much information on there. So a lot of times with paleo, it stands for Paleolithic. So kind of going back to the philosophy of like, eating fruits and vegetables and whole foods, right? So, and trying to cut out gluten and processed things is what paleo is all about. So you're using a lot of times almond flour, coconut flours in different recipes. You're using coconut oils or sometimes ghee. If you've never had that, that's clarified butter. It's really, it's just a healthy version. For sweeteners, you're not dumping in white sugar. You're using honey and maple syrup. So yes, it's sugar, but obviously these are natural sugars. They're not going to have the inflammatory effects nearly like artificial sweeteners and or white table sugar is. Okay, so that's awesome to use. Of course, a lot of them use eggs, so be wary of that if you have sensitivities to eggs. It's just some tips to, again, all the recipes. If you guys look up recipes, they're going to have these kind of tips in there, but coconut flour absorbs more liquids. So, sometimes what I've learned is you kind of, if you're making like a batter with coconut flour, let that rest or sit for 5 minutes before you put it in the oven to bake it. And then also reducing the temperature of the oven by 25 degrees. Now, again, if you're following a recipe of a website like Paleo OMG, they're going to have this detail in there. You don't need to remember all this, but if you're just kind of creating your own things, then reducing the oven temperature is a good idea to do. And here's just some ideas. I don't know. Maybe something will stick out at you guys, but almond flour, banana bread, peach crumble bars. I've had these. These are amazing. Number one, if you're a peach fan, that you can do apple crisp, coconut flour, pumpkin muffins, sweet potato brownies. Sounds weird. These are really good too. Had them, made them. Paleo apple crisp, I said that. Grain-free gingerbread, if you're that kind of fan. Peanut butter pretzel bars, no bake protein brownies. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So I don't know if has anybody ever made things like this? Like from paleo, maybe it wasn't paleo, but kind of the healthier versions of things. Anybody have anything that they've made and they want to share? Like, oh my gosh, you got to try this because this was amazing.
One of the things that I've done is use regular applesauce in place of some sugar.
Yes, that's great. I did not put that in here, and you are exactly right. I've done that as well. Thank you
Mhm.
for that tip, Janine.
Mhm.
Applesauce, yes.
Get the unsweetened kind.
Unsweetened, and also I always say organic. I mean, if you can, because apples are one of those kind of dirty dozen. So if you can find organic applesauce. Anybody else ever experimented with this kind of cooking or baking? Diane, what about you?
I do like using the almond flour in something like if I'm doing like a zucchini bread or pumpkin muffins, or I have to make gluten free, and I also can't digest sucrose, so I use dextrose, and I eat very little of that to begin
Sure.
with. I
Yeah, but you
really,
found things that work, so
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah. And the
Yeah,
dextrose is not as sweet tasting,
yeah.
but I can enjoy a few goodies that way.
That's awesome. Yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. And again, I just have some more ideas on here because these are most of these things are things that I've either made or have had someone else has made that I just thought were really good. Coconut macaroons. Oh, I remember those. Oh, and I'll tell you what, a lot of you guys, I don't know how many of you make like energy balls, right? But there's so many different recipes out there depending on what you like. Just the little protein packed energy balls are super healthy, nice little treats too. So, and I'll tell you what, like if you don't tell, like I had you guys, most of you guys know, I have an 11, 8, and 5, almost 6 year old. And if I don't tell them like what this is made of, they like those just as much as Mimi and Papa's terrible sugar loaded cookies they make. I mean, they legit, kids, you can really get them on the right track. Just don't tell them what's in it. Sometimes, anyway, lie to them, right? I'm kidding. Don't ever lie. Dark chocolate bars, stuff. Anyway, you guys get the idea here. Just some ideas. I don't, so again, pie, if you like to do pies, you can do almond flour and coconut oil crust. You can do pecan meal crust, sweet potato crust. There's just so many options out there. And then with fillings, obviously pumpkin, organic pumpkin would be great. Coconut cream is a good alternative. Apple, or like Janine said, apple sauce, cinnamon. Cinnamon is a great antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory. So dump cinnamon and stuff. Sweet potato pies, berry crumbles, blah, 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 blah. Let me actually go out of this. Let me show y'all. So it's simple. The website you see at the very top, it's called paleoomg.com. And this, I believe this is the homepage that I had pulled up here. And you can see right here where it says browse 1000 recipes. I mean, that's a lot of recipes, but it has, of course, side dishes and main dishes. But then the two over here, which is kind of was the topic today, is this the sweets and the treats. Oh my gosh. Like, just tell me that you start looking at these pictures and these don't look like good things. And they are, again, they have sugar in them. It's not like you want to eat a whole pan of these chocolate chip bars up here. But this is something we did. There was one Thanksgiving where we hosted. And so my family all came over and we decided to do it different. We're like, we are going to make a paleo only meal and also desserts for everybody. So we said, nobody bring anything. We're doing it. And I'm telling you, uh, people got there when my family got there. A lot of them were looking at us funny, like because they see the sides of Brussels sprouts and all this stuff, and butternut squash and acorn squash, all this stuff, and they loved it. I mean, people like sometimes people don't even understand how good healthy food is. And again, you have to make it right. And then the treats went over like just everybody was ecstatic with it. So, oh my goodness. Is anybody else's mouth watering right now? I'm looking at this caramel cheesecake bar right here. That looks good. If you're a chocolate fan, chocolate coffee caramel bars. Oh my goodness, y'all. This was a terrible idea to talk about this today. I'm stuck in my office the rest of the day and I'm just just daydreaming about this stuff now. Oh. Anyway, I'm gonna get off this website. So again, just wanted to show you guys that I love this website specifically. I'm sure there's a lot of others out there too. So, and I kind of just said this. What one of the things we did with our family when we hosted was we of course did everything kind of from a paleo Mediterranean type style. So, gosh, just such good stuff. Herb roasted turkey or chicken, baked salmon with herbs, stuffed acorn squashes. We've done that before. Beef tenderloin. Um, and the side dishes, it's like whose family traditions is like, a big huge pot of mashed potatoes and gravy or something like that. Like I tell you, cauliflower, cauliflower. Has anybody ever done mashed cauliflower? Yeah, a couple of you. It's I love it. I mean, we add butter to it and like some cream and things like that to make it kind of that mashed potato texture, but talk about just a lot healthier. Roasted Brussels sprouts. And I'm not a big pork guy. You guys know pork is not something I say, yeah, I have a ton of pork because it's like the most parasitic meat there is, but who doesn't like a little bacon? Eh. So for the holidays, put a little bacon in your Brussels sprouts, and oh my goodness, that's so good. Green bean, how do you say that? Almondine, I don't know, whatever that word is. Green bean, sweet potato casserole, sautéed garlic spinach. That's actually really delicious if you've never tried that. So just remember to focus on lean proteins, colorful vegetables, and all those little tips that I said earlier to stay satisfied. And here's kind of I guess the philosophy is over the holidays, if you can stick to like an 80-20 approach. A lot of you guys, I understand, because you're in healing phases can be and are on pretty restrictive nutrition plans. Okay. I used to be as well when I was going through what you guys are going through. So I totally get it. I empathize. It's tough. When you get out of that, hopefully someday, I live my life and for my kids, more like the 90-10, right? Like 90% of the time, we are just like eating really healthy. Because if we're doing 3 meals a day, the 3 meals are going to be clean food, healthy food, and then we might throw in a snack or a treat that maybe is not the best thing. So that's going to fit that 90-10 rule. But if there's a pizza party, like my kids are eating pizza, I can eat pizza. Like that 90-10 rule is really kind of what I try to live by. But over the holidays, let's give a little grace. Let's go more 80-20. Okay. So stick to your healthy habits and your healthy foods 80% of the time, or maybe 80% of your plate, and then enjoy those other things 20% of the time without guilt. Okay. Make sure you're prioritizing over the holidays, sleep and stress management stuff. Holidays can be stressful for a lot of people. So if that's you, just make sure maybe you up your stress management and mitigation techniques a little bit. Stay active, stay hydrated, continue your mindful eating practices, and just start to kind of transition your mindset into letting go of perfectionism. We don't need to be perfect. This all or nothing thinking. Don't get stuck in that over the holidays. Definitely don't get stuck in the food guilt. And then obviously comparison to other people because all of us are different. Okay. So here's the action plan as we wrap up today. This week, I would love for you guys, and then maybe next week you can tell me if you did your homework or not. And maybe there will be a consequence if you didn't do your homework. I don't know. We'll see. So try one or two of these healthy recipes before the holidays come up, especially if you've never done this before. I know it sounds like a lot of you guys have done this type of thing before, but if you haven't, try something. And I'll tell you what, the people in your household, your spouses, your kids, whoever you have in your house, they're probably going to love it too. Okay, so plan your strategy for gatherings, like we've said, and then start stocking your kitchen if it's not already stocked. Like maybe you've never used almond flour, coconut flour, maple syrup, things like that for baking and cooking. So start to kind of add that to your grocery store lists over the next couple weeks. and start stocking your pantry with some of these ingredients. Okay, and then I already gave you this website, but there it is. So you can see it again, Paleo OMG. Oh my goodness. I'm pretty sure that's what it stands for. I don't know. OMG.com for all the ideas. Okay. And I think I've already said all of these things. So just kind of um, summarize everything we already said. Okay. So to end, you've got this. You guys can do this. You can stay healthy through the holiday season. You can fall off track a little bit and you can get right back on. Okay. So obviously the holidays, hopefully for everybody, are about joy, connection, and celebration, celebrating the season. The season changes. Christmas time obviously is a special holiday for a lot of us. So I just want you guys to enjoy every moment. And again, just remember what the bottom says there is progress over perfection, right? So nobody has to be perfect. Okay. So with that, that was my less heavy topic of this week. So does anybody have anything they want to add, comment on, or questions at all? All right, cool, cool. And I'll just ask one more time, is because we ended a little early today. Um, is there any questions? It doesn't have to be about this topic. Any questions that you guys thought of after last week's Q&A? Yeah, Diane, go ahead. You're muted.
There, back to the birth trauma thing. I check
Oh,
all the boxes. I, how do you, is it possible to heal it after 66 years?
yeah, that's such a good question.
Is it
If
hopeless?
I had it, I would pull it up, but I don't know if I'd be able to find it. I think I've talked about this before, and I think you'll remember me talking about this because I think you were in the call. There was actually the Harvard, what's it called? The Harvard Center for the Developing Child. It's like a big research part of Harvard Institute. And if you can imagine like just a bar or a chart, like a graph, okay? And if on the x-axis, so the bottom axis is your age, so from 0 to 100, and then the vertical y-axis is basically I'm drawing a blank, is basically how much improvement you can make in someone's nervous system, specifically is what we're talking about. So this is the whole principle of neuroplasticity. Okay, your nervous system is plastic, it's moldable, it's changeable. So if you were to look at the chart, the best time to change a nervous system regulation issue is the younger they are, right? And I mean, it's like almost 100% is what this chart will say between the ages of 0 and 8. It starts to kind of go down at from 0 to 8, and then it kind of goes down a little bit more by 10 years old, and then of course a little lower through the teenage years, and then it goes down in adulthood, but it never flatlines to the bottom, ever, because yeah, things are possible. Does it become so then there's actually two lines on the chart because it's like how much improvement is possible or is it possible? The answer is yes. The second line on the chart shows it plots like how long does it take? Okay, because so then the older we are,
Yeah.
right? The just the longer and more disciplined it's going to take to make changes. Okay, so but yeah, absolutely. The short answer is yes, but there's really cool data that kind of shows that through some of Harvard's research. So with yeah, with nervous system dysregulation. So specifically in your case, if you're saying there was birth trauma and all of these things, then yeah, you potentially could have kind of entered the world at hardwired, right, into this sympathetic kind of fight, flight, dominant mode. I see it all the time in kids and adults. So again, what do you do about it? Well, everything you're doing, lifestyle medicine, because food impacts your nervous system, the toxins, toxic elimination, but then also making sure you're really practicing things like vagal nerve um, theory practices, right? So that nervous system regulation. So again, breath work consistently, humming, tapping, gargling. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about all the vagal nerve stuff at nauseum probably, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you're new to the program, you can simply Google vagal nerve. So VAGAL, VAGAL, vagal nerve strategies, whatever. It'll pop up a million ideas for you. So
Okay.
good question. Anything else on that topic or any topics? Have I told you guys? I feel like this was probably a really long time ago. So this will be the last thing I say. Um, Birth trauma. Okay, you have a baby born, and you guys have all probably known a baby that comes out with like a broken collarbone or something like that, right? So like there's that type of birth trauma. There's birth traumas like, okay, so they have to do an emergency C-section because the baby's, cord wrapped, or, they're losing heartbeats, or, whatever. There's all of those big things, right? Those are obvious birth traumas that can really affect a baby's nervous system. But there was a study done in the United Kingdom, I believe it was Britain, um, that they had five independent doctors, physicians, basically evaluate 100 brand new born babies. They were less than, I don't even remember, maybe 6 hours old. Like these are brand new babies. Nothing's happened to them yet. And the five doctors evaluated them independently of each other. They did not know each other's examination, findings, etc. And don't quote me on this, but the percentages were astronomical. It was something like 60%, 50 or 60% of the babies had some sort of a like lower back sacrum pelvic injury or issue. Okay. So if you know the importance of that, okay, if that area is not working properly, that can lead to a baby. Not number one, they can be hurting. If a baby's crying all the time, colicky, it just isn't. They could be trying to tell you they're in pain, number one, but also babies that are constipated. The nervous system in that lumbar spine and through the pelvis directly correlates to the gastrointestinal system too. I couldn't tell you guys how many times I would adjust, like when I say adjust a baby, we're like putting pressure. It's just like holding pressure, like as long as you know where you're doing it. And babies would have blowouts literally while I was holding them or before they left the office, commonly after being constipated for a week or two. And pediatricians are telling them, oh, it's normal. That's not normal. That should never happen. Okay, so there's that. But more so important than even that, it was some crazy percentage. I want to say it was over 80%, maybe 90% of the babies. It was more than 90% of these little newborn babies. These five doctors unanimously found upper cervical trauma. Okay, so what does that mean? That means, tightness, tension, the vertebrae were out of alignment, something was going on. Now that's huge because if you know anything about the upper cervical spine and the neurology, number one, it's directly correlated to your brain stem and a lot of the nerves that come obviously down through your body, including the vagal nerve, the vagus nerve. Okay, so if there's upper cervical trauma in these little babies, it's like literally no doubt about it that it's going to affect their nervous system dysregulation or their nervous system regulation. Okay, so they can be stuck in that fight or flight. And what causes an upper cervical trauma in a baby? Anybody have any guesses? Why did so many of these babies have this?
Pushing, birth process.
Okay, so birth. Yeah, birth is traumatic in and of itself, but like, the body, the female's body was designed to do that. So like, I would say yes, that happens. But so let's take a little twist on that. If a mom has a stressed out pregnancy and then she's stressed out going into like a lot of the fear, I think that modern medicine maybe puts into women and men, dads too, because us guys probably don't help the situation a lot of times. If we're stressed out, we're stressing you out, and then it's like everybody's stressed out, so that can slow down a pregnancy. I would say drugs that are used slow down the natural contractions and natural rhythms. So epidurals slow things down. Pitocin, even though it stimulates things, it actually is an unnatural thing where it can actually make things more traumatic. So again, there's that whole world. So yes, but even more than that, there's some other things. The amount of times that vacuums, forceps, and then even just manual, like when they're actually pulling a baby out. Okay, so sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's necessary. If a baby's stuck, they got to get the baby out, right? So there's just like medications. I always say there's a time and place for everything. But the amount of traction, the amount of pulling that they might be placing on that baby's head, think about that. Like this was the analogy a doctor used years ago. He's like, okay, if you have a baby and it's laying on your chest, this brand new, like floppy little baby, and you have Uncle Joe come in the room and he's like, oh, new baby, and he picks it up by its head and holds it there. Would you be okay with that? No,
No.
no, because you're gonna be like, you're gonna hurt its neck. So it's like, can you imagine the forces that are put on when you're trying to pull a baby out or when forceps are used? Forceps are designed to hook right under the bone right here behind your ear and pull a baby out. Vacuums on the top of the head. Any baby that's, has a cone head, there's probably been some trauma in the head, the cranium, but also the cervical spine. And then I'll say this, C-sections, although seemingly like would be less invasive other than to the mom, they're like, okay, let's cut through all of the abdominal wall and let's just pull the baby out. Have you guys ever seen a video of a C-section? It's actually been shown to be more traumatic on the baby than natural birth, even if with like a forceps or vacuum. Okay, so I would caution you if you're queasy, don't watch videos of it. But essentially, they make the incision so small they have to force the head out, and then they usually have to turn the head. And by the head, they're trying to turn the baby and turn its shoulders, and then they usually have to kind of flex, extend, and then pull it out by its head. Okay. Upper cervical trauma. Over 90% of these 100 newborns had this going on. Okay. And that is directly impacting that sympathetic fight flight nervous system response. So again, the world that I used to live in kind of pediatric functional neurology, there's various professionals and professions that do that kind of work. Like pediatric physical therapists, pediatric occupational therapists, but I was obviously a chiropractor. So working with little kids who had this going on, if you have a qualified pediatric chiropractor, that's another person to kind of consider, tell people about because it can do wonders for kids. It's amazing the stuff that we would see in our office when I used to do a lot of that work. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling on and on and on, but it's a huge passion of mine because our kids are hurting. So the sooner we can get them help, the better off they're going to be. So anyway,
What kind of trauma? What kind of trauma does a baby born feet first see?
feet first.
Yes.
Yeah, so breech is going to be a lot of times it's going to be more that pelvic hip. So hip area. So if you know hip dysplasia, and again, all of that can relate to a lot of things. Any injury to the spine, the pelvis can impact the nervous system, right? So going back, I know I was using the example of like constipation in a baby. If they have like lumbar spine, low back, or pelvic issues, that can kind of hold up the bowels. But even more so than that, if you guys have ever heard of craniosacral therapy, right? So the cranium is your head, but it also includes like those top cervical vertebrae, and then the sacrum is your tailbone. Craniosacral therapy is the purpose of it is to stimulate via those two areas of your spine the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, because that is where our parasympathetic, what are called plexuses, live in the cranial, upper cervical, and the sacrum. Okay, so my point is, Janine, if there's a breech baby that has some sort of hip, pelvic, low back trauma because maybe they're having to be pulled out because they're stuck, right? That affects the autonomic nervous system as well, because that sacral area is so crucial to the parasympathetic rest digest, heal, grow, relax, aspect of the nervous system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I was just curious. I
Yeah.
had a child that way and we've had some issues with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I had a
Well,
grandson that had the exact issue that you were talking about, only it was after birth. And he would only be comfortable in his car seat. Well, he ended up getting so constipated, they'd take him into the chiropractor. The car seat was causing the dislocation in the
oh,
pelvic
wow. Yeah.
area. And
Yeah.
so they finally just got put two and two together. And yeah, so car seats, watch out for those too.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, again, the technology is advanced and it's like to keep a baby safe in a car, but I mean,
How long?
it can put them in bad positions. I mean, when's the last time I mean, when you see babies in car seats, these little newborns and their heads flopped over to the side like this, or it's like flexed and down. So I mean, we always tried to like stabilize, with because the things that came with the car seats weren't sufficient enough. So we would always like roll up like little towels and like put a horseshoe shape around the head and the neck of the baby to make sure that they were in as neutral of a position as they could when they were in their car seat. So that's what we try to do
Anyway,
with our kids. So little tips and tricks like that, but trying to keep them in the car seat as minimal time as possible. Because again, kids sometimes they're happy in a car seat, they're snuggled, and then you can rock them or whatever. But I mean, gosh, how many of you guys? I mean, I'm guilty of it too. There's no shame in this, but it's like you leave a kid in a car seat because it's convenient. You like it's just not good for them, right? So it's putting their little spines in just a curled up, flexed position the whole time. They need to be laying down flat. They need to be on their backs, of course, when they're really young, and then doing tummy time. A lot of people, what we would see too is, of course, everybody probably knows and is told by their pediatrician and whoever like tummy time and how important that is. But man, with the busyness of our culture, and a lot of times both parents working, I can tell you daycares aren't paying attention to that as much as they should. They're not worried about how much tummy time your kid's getting, right? And then mom and dad are maybe exhausted at night and it's like you're not doing the exercises because like by exercise, I'm talking about a baby laying on their belly when they're at the appropriate age, okay? So not a newborn, but when they're at the appropriate age doing tummy time. And when I say exercise, I'm talking about like rattling toys and like putting toys so they can start reaching that propping up position when they start to prop on their forearms and when they start to lift their head. This isn't just motor development that we're talking about. Okay, so like these motor milestones, like can they hold themselves up? Can they roll over right and left? Can they start to stand? Can they walk? Like those are the motor milestones that we should see at certain ages. It is so much more detailed and complicated than just the motor milestones. It is nervous system patterning. So when a baby starts to press up on its forearms, lift its head, extend its head, turn its head, it's not only shaping the curvature of the spine, so that's a musculoskeletal thing that's needed, but it also is activating specific things in the nervous system of that little baby that are absolutely crucial. Okay. So this might sound crazy, but lack of tummy time can lead to, I think it's a contributing factor. Again, we could talk about a lot of things, but spectrum disorder, ADHD, mental health, I mean, just all of these things, right? Along with gut health. Because again, I'm not a believer that there's one thing that causes one thing. Usually it's a conglomeration or accumulation of a lot of things. So that makes sense?
thank you.
Yeah. So, man, good topics. I should talk. I don't know. Not everybody in here has babies. I'm trying to think of if I don't have very many patients right now that have like really, really young kids, but so I've never really dove into those kind of subjects before. If you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, let me know. I'm happy, man. I've done so many talks, presentations for different groups over the years in pediatric stuff that I mean that'd be super easy for me to do. So you don't have to tell me now if that's something that interests you. You can chat message me and say, heck yeah, let's do some pediatric stuff. And you guys could always spread it to pass it on to people who maybe do have kids. But anyway, I guess we are way over time now. Good questions though. Always happy to answer. If you guys have anything else you think of, just chat message me everybody enjoy the next few days. If you're in Nebraska, it is going to be nice for November. Get out and get that sunshine, get that nice weather, and then I'll see you guys next week.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.